Hey, welcome to the 496th episode of Just Shoot It, a podcast about filmmaking, screenwriting, and directing. This episode is brought to you by patron Kyle McConaughey. I'm Matt and Oren.
And I'm Warren Kaplan, and today we have Janek Ambros on the podcast. He is a filmmaker, which means he's a director, he's a screenwriter, and he's a producer. We actually met him through Gigi Hawkins, whose episode was on a couple weeks ago, and he came onto our movie after it was shot, but when they were figuring out their distribution strategy, how to get into festivals, how to sell the movie, how to get press. And he's a little bit of a jack of all trades. I think he thinks of himself more as like someone who compartmentalizes. Like, you need me to produce, I can be an amazing producer to a director. You need me to write, I can write an amazing screenplay for whatever you need. And other than that, he directs his own movies. And he's had a film win the Grand Jury Prize in Sundance 2024. And he has played in a lot of other festivals and been in various different capacities. And I think it was a fun conversation because you'll see that he is the guy that enjoys talking, has a lot of opinions, is pretty optimistic overall. And, I like to push back on optimistic people.
Yeah, I had a great time in doing this intro. I find it is sort of funny that when we were kind of doing our pre-interview kind of warm-up conversation with him, we were talking about all the movies that he's written and directed and all of that. And I think you and I both were like, yeah, we don't care about any of that. Talk to us about how you help other filmmakers, right? The rare skills.
Right.
And so we really focus on that part of his career and his skill set, which I don't want to accidentally overshadow his accomplishments elsewhere. But I think you and I both were just like, yeah, enough about your writing and stuff. How can you help me? Right.
Yeah. Well, I think we serve as proxies to the audience. Obviously,
Sure.
We have our pretty strong point of view of what we care about right now, and
Mm-hmm.
I think from someone like Janek, it's great to talk to filmmakers about their writing and directing, whatever.
Sure.
We've talked to a million of them about it, but we knew that he had knowledge about how to get a movie out into the world, which I think is a more unique skill than writing and directing.
And especially approaching from it as a filmmaker himself, which he talks about a little bit, and I think informs his entire approach of just he's a person who's done it all for himself, and therefore not only helps other filmmakers do it as well, but also is informed by the things that he needs and looks for and wishes for as a director when he's kind of going through those parts of the process. So it was a really great, fun conversation, a little all over the place in kind of a good way. It's really spirited. It's really energized. A little
contentious here and there. We'll see what makes it into the final cut.
Yeah. Mostly, though, I think most of the time, I think it was kind of a misunderstandings and semantics. You know what I mean? I think we overlap.
Equally excited
probably
about
75-80% of the time. Yeah.
Yes. I will say, just because I feel like I want to make sure we really plug Gigi's movie, I Really Love My Husband. It is potentially still in theaters when you see this. If not, it's probably on streaming or VOD. And he did produce it, and she is the reason we know him. And she also has a podcast, the No Film School podcast. So yeah, just want to plug that because I feel like because we did talk all over the place, we didn't quite get to that in the episode. And what are the odds that this comes out before October 8th? None?
It comes out October 9th.
Okay. Well, so when you're listening to this, we hopefully had an amazing event last night, October 8th. If you enjoyed it, please email us, justshootitpod@gmail.com. If you're so bummed that you missed it and had no idea there was an event last night, also email us or DM us at justshootitpod because, we're doing this interesting thing, right? It's like a networking night. It's like a hangout night.
Yeah.
No panel. You can come and go whenever you want. You don't have to sit down and listen to us talk to anyone, but there's a lot of cool people coming, a lot of past guests and a lot of listeners and a lot of filmmakers and writers and producers and DPs. So
I'm hoping that we were having so much fun the 8th that we're like, oh, let's do it again. Because I do like to do a Halloween panel, and I realized,
oh, damn, it's almost Halloween. Yeah.
It's almost Halloween. So
people did like that panel. I think of all our panels, that one people have mentioned to me.
We've done that a couple times too. We had, we did it at
the Pierce Brothers,
Pierce Brothers, and we had Jim Cummings one year, and a bunch of fun stuff. So I'd love to do it again.
Also, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/justshootitpod. So you can give us $1 or $2, literally just to keep us going, to pay our editors too. Along with the hangout nights, our whole plan is how do we make this podcast not cost us money? just break even, just be this engine that keeps moving. And now we're doing social media, we're doing editing, we have our other annual.
I just spent $1,000 on hats.
Oh yeah, hats.
Which, if there are any left, and I imagine there are, we'll be selling them at the party. But keep an eye out on Instagram because it's a limited release. We'll probably print some more, but if these will sell out relatively quickly. We did 2 colorways, 35 of each, basically. So they're going to go fast.
Okay, yeah.
It's a limited drop.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's like the Bapes of podcasting.
I know what that is.
So anyhow, patreon.com/distributorpod. We really appreciate you. It really, even if it's just $1, it just kind of keeps the heartbeat of the show pumping. And I think that's it. Should we talk to Janek?
Let's talk to Janek.
This guy claims he's shared. What am I going to do with that? How am I going to get into this?
Oren's interview technique is like roast a guest about their name up top.
My name is Oren, and when I first started in the business, I also, like my company is literally called Oren Film. I'm like, I'm the only Oren. What other Orens are there?
I'm the only Janek, Janek, other than Janek Sears, great visual effects artist, won an Oscar for The Matrix.
Oh.
So I'm competitive with him only.
No, well, we're happy to have you on. The reason you're on the podcast is because we had Gigi Hawkins on, another one of our favorite podcasters. She hosts the No Film School podcast, but is also a filmmaker. Just made a movie called Take My Husband, Please.
No, I really love my husband.
I really love my husband. Yeah, I really love my husband. And she told us that Janek was one of the people, one of the EPs, that he is a crazy hustler that knows how to get things done. And you know what's, I don't know, Matt, what you do nowadays, but when people call me and they're like, hey, what are you up to? I usually just say, I'm just hustling like everyone else.
I say I'm chilling so that people they're like, oh, right, Matt's very busy and he's being sarcastic.
Oh,
I'm just like I'm just like, hey, relax and poolside.
Yeah.
You know,
It's having a good time.
That's a good thing. But this business is basically about 2 things: hustling, and maybe they're the same thing. Hustling and salesmanship, right?
Sure.
And it sounds like, Janek, you know a thing or two about both of these things. So can you tell us we know you do a lot of stuff, but what's kind of the main thing that people call you for to do?
I mean, I think most of my time is like how I make my money is I write. So like I get gigs to write and I write for directors and that's how I like live and breathe. But I think because I started...
when you say... Sure, I'm going to pump the brakes all the time. When you say write, do you mean like write screenplays? Or,
yeah, screenplays. Like, hey, there's this guy, this general we want to make a movie about. Like, here's money to make that movie. And so like to write that movie, and I'll do that. Or, hey, I need to rewrite on this script. And so that's kind of how I make my living. But really, to answer Oren's question, I think because I started my company when I was like 22 and just have been kind of scratching through the dirt of Hollywood, that I just know how to kind of like make product kind of go out into the marketplace or get seen, because I've been doing it with my own film since I was 22, that it just kind of turned into a thing where, so I guess to answer your question, I think people see me almost like a producer, where it's like I make it into a thing. And so that comes from me doing usually things myself, but having done that for so long, I've just kind of, and having the company, I just have the capability to do that for other people, which has been awesome. Like that's part of why I started my company, is because I was a big, fan of Francis Ford Coppola, who was a director and a writer, but also a producer, and those separately, not just like, oh, he made a movie and he's writer, director, producer. He did those things compartmentalized. And I found that fascinating as a child, and that's what I based my career off of.
I can hear every filmmaker who's doing the dishes or driving the car or working out lean forward. This is like when you say like what you just said, every indie filmmaker is like, tell me more. Let's crack it open for sure. It's very exciting. Oren, what were you going to say?
Oh, just so something that excited you is that you could direct one movie, produce another movie, and write another movie, and they don't necessarily have to be the same movie.
Yes, exactly. It's compartmentalizing. It's a bifurcation of a career. It's like, okay, I can be a businessman and an artist. I can direct a crazy avant-garde experimental film, which I've done, but also produce and help find financing for some random movie with Ethan Hawke, and then get a finder's fee, and that would help pay my rent. So it's like trying to be half businessman, half artist, which, like I said, is a big inspiration from Coppola, because he was like, his wineries and stuff, but he's also pretty good artist, you know? So I think it was like, to me, that was kind of the thing where I didn't want to kind of be some like, you know, like sad artist. Like I also wanted to do business because I think that helps you have more flexibility as an artist.
Yeah. That's such a great lesson to learn early on, because I think that a lot of filmmakers, the ones that have longevity, the ones that last, all know what you're saying. We all come to realize that you have to be pragmatic about it. Maybe you lean into the producing angle a little bit more and can kind of balance it between the two. But like, I think that a lot of people, it takes them a long time to realize that. You have to make a few things and to realize like, oh, I'm good at this part also. And I get to make things because I'm good at that part, you know, the producing part, right? Yeah, it's really fascinating. The other thing that I think is really interesting, though I've been kind of talking to a lot of filmmakers about over the last month or two, is like there's this challenge that independent filmmakers have, where it takes like 3 or so years, 4 years to make a movie, right? Soup to nuts. And so you acquire all of those skills of like, you know, marketing and public speaking and publicity, all of those things that any filmmaker has to do just to kind of get their film out into the world. But you can't do it at scale because of the timeline of filmmaking, right? Because it just takes too long to get things made and out into the world. And so I feel like, you know, there's that thing where like, there's always like a rash of like women who were so into like planning their weddings that they become wedding planners because they build all of these incredible skills and they don't know what to do with them. Right. And this is kind of the equivalent. And I'm always in awe of the filmmakers who figure out how to balance the two. Like I think the Vanishing Angle comes to mind as a group of people where they were like, okay, well, we're just going to keep doing this over and over and over again and get really, really good at it. And then just add distribution in as well, because why leave money on the table? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, it's like how I look at it is like, you know, I don't go out and party. I'm very social, but like, I just kind of focus on making movies. So like, there's only so much, like so much of my time is devoted to developing bigger films that I've written, that I attach directors to, or movies that I'm prepping to direct. But there's so much time where I just need to fill in space. So that's why I take on a couple movies. I used to take on more movies a year, but like Gigi's movie or a new film I'm taking on that's a movie about immigration. Because I'm like, yeah, to your point, like it's like I know the wedding planning, so like why wouldn't I adapt that skill to help other people? And you know, I'm not totally altruistic. It helps my company, my company's brand. It's also fulfilling to me, and so 100%. I mean, it's like why would I not do that? You know, and that's how I view it.
Yeah. Well, can we take, just to get more specific, can we take Gigi's movie as an example? Gigi had already shot her film when she contacted you, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So So tell us a little bit about, before we started recording, you mentioned that you saw the movie and you're like, oh, damn, this movie is actually really good.
Yeah, because you never know. Let's be real. But like, it was incredible. It was like, oh, this is like a very talented director. And as I mentioned to you before, you know, she was kind enough to have me on her podcast for a movie I directed that, you know, I shot on the Ukraine border when the war broke out, or when Russia invaded Ukraine. So I did that in like February 2022, I think it was. And so she had me on and she told me about this film, and yeah, I watched it and I was like, oh, this is like really good. And so she already finished it, but it was, you know, like a very more tangible thing. It was like, I played at like hundreds of festivals with all the films that I've done. So I was like, oh, you just don't have to pay for festival fees because I'll just give you the waivers. You know, you just submit free. I'll just ask for a film waiver.
Wait, so tell us a little bit more about that. How does that work?
Well, because I've played at so many festivals, they give you fee waivers.
So once you played a festival,
not all of them. Like, so ironically, the biggest festivals like Sundance and South by, they do not do that. But like the smaller ones do. They're usually like, yeah, we got you. Like, here's your waiver.
So you email, say, a festival programmer who programmed your last film, and you say,
like Newport Beach Festival.
And those are like $100 a pop for features. You know, it's expensive. So get 20 of those, it ends up being a decent amount of money.
Are there other tangible things or less tangible things that you do for films based off of the experience of having made so many and exhibited so many?
Yeah, I mean, my first thing is always being like the try to be the director's best friend. Like, even in the summers, like the movie I produced, like granted I wasn't as involved in the early stages. I worked with a company that I would like, help out with, and I wasn't as close to the director. But more recently, I've been like, where do you want this movie to play, etc. But with Gigi, it was like, hey, like, you have an ally in me, where like, if you want something done, I'm just another voice to kind of have your back, which I think is really helpful to directors. As a director myself, I know I would want that. And I look at everything through that lens. Everything I do as a producer is through the lens of a director. What would I want someone to do if I directed this movie? And it would be continue to make sure this movie gets seen abroad, continue to make sure it gets Variety articles or Hollywood Reporter articles that are seen by the public to pump the director's tires. Constantly that stuff. So everything I do as a producer is through the lens of a director. So like when we had a distributor for Gigi's movie, one of the things that, was like the publicist or, whatever, is everybody's trying, but it's like, oh, we can't get the article, So I just, was able to whip up a Variety article, which I know helped, get everybody excited. Everybody suddenly is like, oh, this is more legit. So it's just like little things like that, where it's just kind of like, it's almost like I don't know if you follow baseball, but like utility position where you just kind of jump in where you can. So you're second baseman, maybe you're shortstop one day, maybe you're a designated hitter. Like it's just kind of jumping around and helping and making sure just like a little bit of an engine, making sure the movie kind of gets out there. And so it's not really one specific thing. It's like like Gigi and other people made that movie. I was just there to help. And I feel like that's how I feel about producing in general, honestly. Like, unless I'm like a producer who found the script and is like more of like an old school Louis B. Mayer, David O. Selznick producer that is like almost like the auteur behind it, which is very rare these days, frankly. No, it's just kind of like helping the director make sure they're happy. I know that sounds lame, but that's kind of how I look at it.
But so just to kind of get into a little more brass tacks with Gigi's movie. So you helped with festival submissions, figuring out how to get it seen. I'm assuming maybe something with distribution as well. And you said, and with PR, obviously, which is like part of
publicist,
the
100%,
release.
Yeah.
How do you get paid for something like that?
I mean, very little. Do
you get a piece of the back end, or like what's your usual deal?
I'm okay saying it. Like, yeah, I charge them a tiny bit of money, but I always come at it from a perspective of I used to do this for money, but now I really don't. And it was more just about liking Gigi's movie. And then, like I said, not being totally like pretend altruistic. It's like, oh, well, this will be part of my company and its brand, and that'll help me.
So you get a credit, like
of course,
not just an EP credit, but your company gets
company credit, which obviously helps the film because I have a lot of followers and like a lot of like indie film followers. So it's just like a mutual beneficial thing. And yeah, I sometimes I say, God, I should really ask for more money because I work really hard. But like at the end of the day, it's like like I said, the first thing I said in this podcast is most of my real money's made through writing. So like, if I'm going to charge 1,000 or 2,000 or 4,000, it's not going to be make or break my life. So I just charge basically like very little, nothing. And I just do it because I'll like movies, and I only do a couple a year now, maybe 1 or 2 a year. I just produced a movie called Off to the Races, directed by a very talented actress, writer, director who was in my movie Mondo, Miranda Ray Hart. And, I read the script and it was great. And I was like, I got tricked again. I'm like, God damn it, I'm going to be producing this movie. So all these talented filmmakers just keep tricking me into producing their movies. But yeah, so it's like, it really is, not to sound lame, but like for the love of the game, you know what I mean? Like it's like, it helps my company, but it is also just like, I like good movies and I want them to be seen. And I know what it's like to be a director, and maybe the movie gods will be kinder to me when I need a producer to help as a director,
Yeah.
Karma,
Tell us,
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
Hopefully.
before we end this, I'm curious about another one of your movies. You had mentioned winning Sundance, and if I'm correct, it's for a movie called In the Summers.
Yeah.
And you're listed as a producer on that film. What was your involvement in that film, and what does like winning Sundance do now? When you send an email, you can say, hey, by the way, I've also won the grand jury prize at Sundance, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, there was a few people who worked on it for 8 years. The writer, two of the producers. I came in later, so I worked in the film for like full 3 years, I think. So, I mean, it was a very big collective team effort. There's like probably like 8 producers on it, all of which deserve the credit. And it's just like everybody kind of played a different role. So, I was on set for some of it with editing, helping with financing prior to the movie was shot. I mean, I was on it for 4 years, or maybe 3.5 or 4. And I'm still working on the movie. I'm still trying to making sure it gets distribution in Latin America. So it's now, year 4 or 5. And it was insane. It was awesome. Alessandra is the director, and she did an incredible job. And winning Sundance was insane. I was surprised we got into Sundance. Not surprised because of the movie or anything. It's just because the numbers.
Sure. It's just,
it just doesn't make it. Just like you don't.
It's an anomaly to get into.
Yeah,
Sundance.
especially because we weren't at the lab. There was no major celebrities in the movie. We Residente's our star, and he's famous in Latin America. So getting in was just kind of almost like unbelievable. And then winning and being out Jesse Eisenberg, A Real Pain was wild. I mean, it's just like, what? It still is like bizarre.
And this is her first feature that she directed.
Yeah, first screenplay, first feature. She's a brilliant writer-director.
She has a perfect track record.
Yeah, exactly. And she's just a really wonderful person as well. And so, yeah, I mean, and to your second question, yeah, it's just great. Say, hey, I'm emailing you. We're really excited as this is our follow-up to the Sundance winning, it's
sure.
You can kind of use it. It's one of those things, frankly, you can use forever. I mean, like, it's not because it's like, I've had movies at Sundance where I was like a co-producer and TIFF and Venice Film Festival even, but there's something about winning it. And even just recently with the Redford stuff, I noticed online, there was all this stuff about Sundance, and I was like, damn, like, it is pretty cool. Like, it's kind of like the indie thing where it's like you can just kind of say that now in any email, but I recently, of course, I'm like, this is our follow-up to the movie that won Sundance. And I say that about all my movies. It's like, so it's kind of like, a little bit of sneaking around the truth, being like, all of them are follow-ups, but it's like, this is the follow-up. But like, no, of course.
But the subtext is, this movie can also win Sundance because I've won it before and I know.
Yeah, and some of the movies that I have that I'm take out there wouldn't make sense at Sundance because they're box office movies. They're like prestige movies that they wouldn't play at Sundance. But it's just kind of a handshake saying like, well, I produce quality stuff and this is quality too.
And objectively, people.
Yeah, some of it's action movies that I write or that I'm producing that wouldn't make any sense at Sundance, but it's just kind of like, oh, well, that's cool that this person did this. So you just use it forever. Of course you use it. Use any advantage you can, with any kind of a buzzword. One funny story, I think Gigi, likes the story, is like, so like in 2019, when I directed my first narrative film, Mondo Hollywoodland, which is having kind of a revival tour right now, I got a PR or a publicist and they didn't do anything. And I was like, well, I gave you money. And then I was like, but it was my first feature film, narrative film. I directed my first feature as a documentary when I was like 25 years before. But this one, I was like, it's my first narrative film. Like, it's a psychedelic, crazy movie. I put all my heart into it. I think it's totally awesome. Didn't get into Sundance, whatever, but it's cool. It had a little limited theatrical release. The publicist didn't do anything.
Wait, so did you hire the publicist when you got into the first festival?
No, I did it like up to the release of the film. So like when it was, because like we premiered DTLA Film Festival, but in 2019, and then COVID hit, and then we released in 2021. So we got a small theatrical release, and they didn't do anything. And I wasn't going to give up. I was going to be like, oh, that sucks. So I made a list of 750 film critics that are all RT approved. I spent three days straight going through Google and making this list, which is psychotic. But it got enough reviews that's, kind of cool.
So, sorry, hold on. So let's follow through. So you go in, you say, okay, I'm going to go onto Rotten Tomatoes. I'm going to figure out the list of all 700 of these people, right? Then you're going to like Google them, figure out like figure out their contact information, right?
Yeah.
And then you cold email every
single one individually, correct?
And what do you say?
Individually. Yeah, this is important though, right?
Yeah, because it's not a blanket like BCC thing. It's a lot of work, and people kind of think like, oh, you magically do these things, but it's like, no, it takes tons of work.
It's just grunt work. Yeah.
It's grunt work. It is, and now thankfully I probably have I could pay someone to do that from a Gmail account. But back I had no money then. This is 5 years ago.
You just spent all your money on the publicist. And when you say the publicist did nothing, do you mean they're like, hey, we reached out, nobody responded, or what? Like what?
Yeah, and that's that's bullshit. You'll hear that all the time from films. And reality is that I found out that you can just email the websites and you just say, hey, would you do this? Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm not suggesting everybody go and start emailing people from these outlets, but like, but I think you're more than welcome to question what your publicist is doing, because a lot of it's a racket. And I hate saying that because like there are so many amazing I can't begin to describe how helpful some publicists were when I was doing my Ukraine documentary. We tied it with Liev Schreiber's charity, and there's probably like every single publicist I reached out to who represents famous people were the nicest people ever, and we're so amazing. So this is not like anything about publicists. It's more these kind of like middle tier publicists who I think take advantage of like indie filmmakers and like take their money. Like I'll just say, I don't care. Like, it is what it is.
So I want to dive in. Let's take a little detour on this because I don't think this is a thing we talk about much on the show.
No, and it is. But Matt and I are on the receiving end of publicists every single day. We get 10 emails a day from a publicist. And some of them are like, hey, so-and-so is a huge fan of your show. They have this story and it relates to your podcast in this way. And, I think and here's a trailer.
Those are good publicists.
Yeah. But a lot of them are like, hey, movie coming out. Here's a poster.
Right.
And you're like, what am I supposed to do with that?
The fact that they reached out to you is they're good publicists. Because a lot of the times I've just had people who I just know that they haven't done anything.
I mean, I think that there's certainly we are on a list, right? Somebody once upon a time put our name into a database. Right?
Yeah.
And they said,
totally.
okay, great. And we have the publicists that we work with all the time who know us personally and we've met in real life over the years. And always I'm happy to recommend those people and specialize in certain things, right? So the more we have relationships with publicists, the better they are at understanding what we like to cover and what we don't like to cover. But the reason I pointed out that you did personalized emails rather than a blanket email is there's nothing more obvious than an AI written summary. Like, oh, hey, I loved how you talked to Janek Ambros about, X, Y, and Z boilerplate sort of AI barely understands the conversation. Clearly, you just fed a transcript into a chat GPT and sent me an email. Or even worse, this is the biggest tell. Hey, Just Shoot It, a podcast about filmmaking, screenwriting, and directing. We really love your show. No listener in the history of the planet has ever called our show Just Shoot It, a podcast about filmmaking, screenwriting, and directing. Right?
Like it just instantly says like somebody put it in. It's like
auto-populated,
these emails.
Auto-generated everything, right? So, but if someone says, hey, Matt and Oren, I dig what you guys are doing. I've listened to a couple episodes. I think I could be right in these ways. That works for sure. We're always more curious. Absolutely. If it comes through a friend, right? Gigi said, hey, I've got this great filmmaker. He'd love to be on the show. We could have an incredible conversation. That's an easy yes, right? So like doing the legwork for filmmakers. And look, maybe you do that for 700 critics. Maybe you do that. Focus fire 10. You can do 10 where you have a friend of a friend. You figure out who knows who and get a warmer introduction. That's how you do the work. And those skills transfer to all of filmmaking, right? You always need introductions to producers, cinematographers, production companies, publicists, everything. It's just grunt work. It's just grunt work.
Yeah, everything's a numbers game, honestly. Like I'm a big believer in that, even on the highest scale. So like right now I'm directing a movie called Night Trader, which is like this like really gritty movie about this finance broker who has 48 hours to come up with $500,000 before his clients find out he stole it from him. And we're out to cast right now. And it's just like, it's like a bigger company's producing it, like a movie that's made like pretty big budget movies. So I'm really thankful for that. But it's just, it's still the numbers game. It's like, we have to go to cast and it's like, we're going to probably go through 20 before we get one, but it's the same. I forget what statistician said this. Like I used to study economics. So I'm like kind of into stats and stuff like that. And so somebody said like 1 out of every 10 is always the kind of the rule. And it's like, I found the same with the festivals. I always found that even when I was like 23 years old making short films, it's like, yeah, 1 out of every 10 will accept it. And it's like, just happens to be kind of the thing where it's like, it's a numbers game. So, there's a reason why I made that list of the 700, or even with film festivals. Admittedly, I didn't personalize each one because film festivals, I think, sometimes can be its own racket. I did a lot of film festivals that are a little bit weird. So I just kind of just shelled it out. And if some people were a little bit annoyed, but I was like, hey man, I'm just trying to do whatever they can for my film. You don't have to give me a film, or you don't have to give me a fee waiver. It's fine. But like, calm down. Yeah. Other festivals will give me one. And that's how I've been able to play. To this day, I still play my features that I made 5 years ago, or short films even, because I really do believe in keeping the film you make a thing. And it's not just something you just finish and you go, oh, that's it, it's over. because he's just so rare to make a movie. So I just really do believe it's a numbers game for everything you do in life. Like that's like applicable to everything in the industry. Like it's like a screenplay even. Like if you're trying to sell it, like you have to probably pitch to 20, 30 people to get one maybe, that's my experience with the industry. That it's not even like tailoring it or like it's all numbers. It's like getting a lotto ticket and you have a couple lotto tickets and then maybe one of them work.
Yeah, I mean, so much of it is timing and catching the right people at the right time, and
luck.
so the more darts you throw, the higher chance there will be a target to catch it.
I think that so many people, I'm fortunate to have some, quote unquote success. I don't know what that really means, but I've had a movie that won Sundance and that I produced, and some cool things happened to me. But I ultimately think that the more people who are far more successful than me, I think most people who are genuine or at least they're self-aware or have some understanding, that it's kind of a lot of luck. There's it's the kind of like, oh, of course you want to put yourself in a position to be lucky. I do agree with that. I do really think you need to work hard, but
and to be ready for when they respond.
Once you work hard, you have to kind of accept the fact that the world is chaos and there's no divine plan. It's just luck.
Yeah,
right.
Even when you make a movie, it's like.
I think I 100% agree with the slight modification. Like if let's say it's 1 in 10, right? It's probably 1 in 10 is a bite, maybe not a sale, but just like a response, right? Or when you're saying oh, how many darts can you throw at the board? You do have control over how many darts you can throw, right? And the limiting factors are okay, contacts, but honestly, mostly it's pride. Mostly it's oh, I don't want to be embarrassed to cold email someone or reach out to someone or ask, you know what I mean? Right? It's embarrassing.
Yeah. No,
I
think
love it,
over the years on the podcast, we've seen a lot of the most successful people we've had. Sometimes they're talented, sometimes they're not, but a lot of them just are, they are okay with rejection.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's me. I don't give a shit. I mean, I've been in this business since I was 20 years old. I mean, I'm 37 now. I do doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Half the time when I kind of get a little bit nervous about being oh, am I being too annoying? I do think that a lot. But at the end of the day, I'm this person might not even be at this company in 4 months. I don't know.
Sure.
And that's a weird kind of maybe cold way to look at it. But everybody's just trying to survive. And I would say if for any listeners who are under the age of 30, you have a great opportunity to annoy anybody you want because you're in your 20s. And when I was in my 20s, I was kind of self-aware that I was young, which is unusual. I found that most people don't realize they're young. But I was very aware that I'm 23. I'm a baby. And so
maybe it's that you were 23. Do you know what I mean? There's 27-year-olds who definitely don't know they're young, for sure.
Right. But I think even when you're 23, you don't really realize you're young. You're still scared to email people. But I was 23, 24, 25, 26, even quite 27. And I was I'll email everybody in this industry. I don't give a shit because I'm just I'm a little kid. I'm a little kid. They're not going to get mad at me. Now, if I email people for help, they might be what? But and still, that's not even true. Everybody I've ever talked to in this industry, whether it's some of the mentors I've had or Spielberg or Coppola or all these people, they're all just incredibly nice. They're just every single one. It's don't be your heroes. It'll disappoint you. Completely not the case in the movie industry. Every single person I've talked to,
except for Tom Hanks,
so probably the nicest guy ever. But literally, it's been so But I and that's another thing with films. It's when you make a movie, try to get an executive producer. And I was really fortunate when I was young that I made my first movie, and I emailed a bunch of people, and everybody kind of declined, which is fine. But James Cromwell said yes, and James Cromwell is one of the great character actors of our time, an incredible activist. And to this day, for now 15 years, we basically have a collaboration. He's involved in all the movies that I direct. He's involved in this new movie that I'm directing that's bigger. He's going to play a supporting role. And now he was my first champion.
And you just met him through an email?
Yeah, I just said, hey, man, I made this movie. First you have to make something, obviously. I don't think you just email somebody and say, hey, I really like you. Can you help me? I think it's more you have to complete something. It's not just Barbara Defina is the same thing. Barbara Defina is my other mentor. And she produced Goodfellas and Casino, and I made a short film and I sent it to her, and she was like, "Hey, this is really good." And to this day, she's helped me develop movies, and she's even produced her on one of them. So she's one of my heroes. I mean, she's literally a mentor to me, and is somebody I look up to. So I also think that reaching out to people, having respect for the people in this industry who worked before you and are, have made movies in the 90s is people appreciate that,
Yeah. By the way,
sorry, I just want to hold that thought on. One thing I do want to also just point out is like when we're pitching, especially film festivals or press, but also I think kind of collaborating with anyone, you are bringing something to the table, right? Like you're not just asking for help. News outlets need movies to talk about. Film festivals you're saying, hey, would you like my film I'll pay you to watch my film and then maybe you can put it in a movie theater for free. Like that's what a film festival is. Like that's crazy, right? So like I think that as filmmakers, oftentimes we feel so needy. We're like, oh, please help me. But it's a two-way street. And I think your point about like having had something finished, you're coming to these mentors with the opportunity for them to, offer guidance, maybe a second chance at doing, starting over, like all of that stuff I think is really valuable. So don't shortchange yourself. You are bringing things to the table.
Totally.
Just in general, for filmmakers.
I also think though, like not to kind of like steelman that a little bit. It's like I do agree 100%, especially with film festivals. Like I regret not being like, hey, can I get because now when I still don't do this. I don't know why. I think I've just still had that filmmaker brain in me where I'm like, I don't ask for the screening fee. But when I'm a producer, I'm like, give us $200 for a screening fee. But it's my movie. I'm like, thank you. Oh my God, I'll do anything. Yeah. It's like when I directed, I'm like, just like, oh, thank you. Just so.
Yeah, I just want people to see it.
Yeah, I still care. But it's like, but I also do think that, especially if you're like reaching out for help, like I do think it's good to have sometimes be self-aware of leverage. And it's like, if you have no leverage and you just need help, I think there is something good about just being like, I need help. And like, I'll do anything, whatever. And I think definitely the past 5 years, I've noticed there's this more of like, I think just the political landscape has changed. And like, listen, I don't know if you get politics involved in this, but like, I'm a Bernie bro. Like I believe in like, economic justice and stuff like that. But I do think that it's almost like a dangerous thing to think about in the film industry. Cause it's just like good luck. Like there is no economic justice in this town.
No,
like I believe it. Yeah, exactly. I believe that in like a macro sense. I'm an FDR Democrat, all that kind of stuff that I won't bore anybody with. But like with the film industry, I'm like, don't drag your like leftist politics into Hollywood because you're gonna get fucking eaten alive. Like, and I hate saying that, but like, of course, with unions and stuff, I wouldn't apply that. Of course, they have their own leverage points that they use. I'm not talking about that. I totally think that that's a way different thing. But if you're like an independent filmmaker trying to make your first movie, or trying to get your first movie out there, or trying to be a producer who's trying to get their first movie made, or the non-union writer trying to get like you have to throw that stuff away and just kind of work your ass off. It's like it is put kind of like put by the bootstraps and like pay like it is like that weird capitalistic thing of just being like work hard. And it sucks to say because I used to be on podcasts. I used to be very careful, and I used to say people say, well, what would you suggest people do if they want to make a movie? And I would say, well, I suggest they make a movie, but I understand that it's not everybody has the economic, abilities to do that. And it's not fair. And I would have these kind of preamblers and because I came at it from a very honest place and I was trying to say it the right way. But now I regret saying that. And I'm like, no, don't make any excuses for yourself. I don't care. Like, just find a way to make the movie. Like, you could shoot it on your phone. You could shoot it on the weeknights if you have to work 12-hour days. You can shoot on the weekend. Like, there is no excuse. You have to just do it. And it's not being like tough guy. It's just like you won't do it if you just keep making excuses. And so I regret talking like that actually. And now like I said, I'm much more like, no, you just have to do it. There's no like, it sounds so trite and like lame to say like there's no excuses, but like really there isn't. You just have to do it. Like I don't know what else to say.
I think also as we get older, you see people who are still kind of doing the same old thing or like making excuses or dragging their feet or, just kind of all that stuff. And you're just like, well, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's like
if you don't do it, it's not going to happen.
And it's not like you have to make one a year. Just do one and then see how it goes. If you want to be a writer, you can kind of figure out what you want to do, all these things. But it's just like, just get one feature off the ground. And then you're just you're in a different ball game, in my opinion. It's like, you're just in a different, you're in a different space than you did if you did it. And that's what I try to tell people. I say, if you want to do a short, great, but like, have you thought about doing a feature? And if you do the feature for $10,000, who cares? It's a feature film. You were able, even Tarantino, Reservoir Dogs wasn't his first movie. That's bullshit. It was my best friend's wedding that he did, and he didn't want to release it, and it was like, it was bad. And now I think he's starting to kind of go out there and say, no, this was my first movie. It's a lesson learning thing. And even, Stanley Kubrick was trying to burn his first movie, Fear and Desire. Stanley Kubrick is my favorite director of all time. I think he is I don't believe in like geniuses and stuff like that. I think if there were one in film, it would be him. His first movie was terrible. And I think that's a great thing for people to realize and say, you can make something bad. It's fine. It's not, you have to. Like, Scorsese made Boxcar Bertha. Like, cool movie, but like, none of these people other than Paul Thomas Anderson, none of these people have ever just made like a clean, we live in a culture, I think, of like, the Bill Simmons kind of, and I love that podcast. I'm not knocking it, but it's like very talked about almost like sports, like who has the best record. And it's just like, it's just kind of silly. Like, that's not a thing. Like, you just have to like make art. And then once in a while it works. Sometimes it doesn't resonate. Maybe in 10 years it would resonate. But just this kind of culture I think we have of like, you need to go on a run. You need to have like a perfect filmography. It's like, that is dangerous thinking.
Just to push back a little bit, I'm not familiar with this culture of everything has to be perfect. I mean, we've had this podcast for 11 years. It's called Just Shoot It. I think we all read Robert Rodriguez's Rebel Without a Crew, which is basically the same concept of just shoot it, but like 20 years earlier.
Yeah.
Which is like just,
I think I've heard a lot about it. Yeah.
I think to me, that is the ethos of like every single person I know in Hollywood. Every single person that's been on this podcast has been like, yes, we've had some
people who
we've had a few people that were born wealthy.
No, but I think like,
or given a few opportunities.
People who maybe leave a few projects off the resume, or maybe like,
oh yeah, everyone does. But that's like, I mean, like Janek is saying, that's like
that's
actually the standard thing.
Yeah.
Right. Tarantino, I heard his story about his first movie at a screening of Inglourious Basterds. I don't know when that movie came out, but probably like 15 years ago or something. Like, it's not, this isn't new information, but the fear of making a movie is just an ever-present thing.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting to, you said, P.T. Anderson has a quote-unquote perfect track record. I think the difference is like he came of age post-video.
Yeah, of course. That was the DVD area.
I bet he had like a lot of like VHS practice before he's shooting.
Yeah, and also that was the era where they took chances on younger people. I mean, nowadays, like, I can't even name, other than Cooper Raff or Emma Seligman, like Gen Z directors, which is a tragedy. Like, there are no like younger directors. Which, it's bizarre, because I think so many of the older directors are kind of hanging on to their status, and that's cool too, because I like them. But like, it's just it's a different that's just a different era. So I think when people try to compare themselves and kind of have this self-deprecating or loathing thing about it, like, oh, I didn't do this at this age. It's like, dude, it's a different world. Like, it's fine. Don't stress about that. Like, yeah, use it as motivation, but like, just understand that the 90s, it was like a DVD market where you could just like, there was like a section of the film industry that was for just like random young people to make crazy movies. Like, that doesn't exist right now.
Well, that's because young people don't really care about movies anymore. But
I don't agree with that. I mean, there's more film schools than ever. I mean, there's tons of,
because that's how you make money. Because there's so many
I don't think there's a
film professors.
There's not a lack of filmmakers. There's a lack of people giving an opportunity for them to make it. There's only
I think Oren's saying there's no Gen Z doesn't care to watch movies, is what
statistics would show otherwise.
I kind of disagree with the whole premise that everyone is like, thinks they have to have a perfect track record. Because I think we are in the era, like when you're talking about not seeing young directors, because we're in an era where a lot of filmmakers are online, are making stuff for YouTube, or making stuff for Instagram, or making stuff for TikTok. They're not caring if they have a perfect track record.
I agree.
Their content, their quantity over quality. They're like, my 9-year-old daughter wants to just make a bunch of junk to put on YouTube every day.
I agree. I agree with the fact that not everybody wants quality over quantity. I totally agree with that. That's just, I'm just saying some people have that, at least when I was growing up in the film industry. But I will push back on the idea that like, there's not people who want to make movies. I mean, it's just like, statistically there is. Like, there's just way more film graduates. There's way more people wanting to make movies. It's just, there's not the there's the supplies there, the demand's not there because their studios and the production companies are so risk averse. So they're there. They're
right, because the
statistically
demand
there, yeah.
of 12-year-olds going to the movie theater is not existent. Like
Well,
when I was 12, like that's all we did. At every teenager I know, every Friday night, every Saturday night, all we could do. We couldn't drink. We couldn't do anything. We just
Yeah,
have our
but, like,
parents take us to the movie theater.
But like
That's the rise of the Marvel movie. The superhero came
yeah,
from
exactly. No, there we
teenagers.
can agree. There's a
now
different-
teenagers don't even care to go watch Marvel movies.
No, I mean, there's somebody's going to the movies. You know, I think a lot of them are teenagers, but to your point, I mean, those aren't the movies that a young person would make. So, like, I you know what I mean? So, like, you're 100% right. Like, they're not like back in the day. There was like these like $30 million, $50 million budget movies in like the 2000s and the
Sure.
90s and stuff that were like adult movies, but like that were for people who are in their 20s and stuff like that, and sometimes teenagers and people in their 30s and 40s and 50s. That doesn't exist anymore. And so there's definitely not teenagers or people in their 20s who are going to make those movies. But it is weird. It does suck, though, that I think that the movie industry is not taking a chance on younger people to make movies. Once in a while, you'll have that, like oh, well, some person at a Sundance made a movie and we'll just give them like the next Marvel movie. But I think they stopped doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was an era maybe like 10 years ago where people were giving like influencers money to make feature films and stuff. And that was a model that was tested out and I think was largely not successful. To me, what's interesting, and I think what people give way too much weight to in this industry is they think they don't want to be annoying. I think maybe Matt used that word. And I feel like, to me, like I literally have meals with people that I don't even want to eat with, but they've emailed me 40 times to have a meal with them, and I've run out of
And Oren
excuses.
hates it. Oren really hates it.
People are all constantly trying to hang out with me.
If you
Let's
want to
get a
piss
drink,
Oren
let's get a
off,
coffee, let's get a lunch, let's get a this,
offer
let's
to
get a
buy
that.
him a salad. Yeah.
But literally after 20 times, I'm like, okay, you know what? Like I have half an hour on Wednesday. Let's
Sorry.
go.
As a
eat.
tiny detour, Oren, I think that is a quirk of yours. Janek, help me out here.
No,
Like,
I mean, like ultimately, I think that it's nobody wants to be annoying, but you have to be, even
It's
when you're
effective more than
even-
people realize.
even
Right.
even when you're like, I mean, look at like people really need to read the book. I forget what it's called. I apologize, but it's the Sony Hacks book.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, do you know
Yeah.
the name? Well, anyway, everybody's annoying. Aaron, like,
Sure.
A-list people are like,
Sure.
can you answer my email? Can you read my script? It's just never ends. It's not unique to being like at the bottom. It's everybody needs to be annoying. Like, and the sooner you realize that, the better you're off. And like, if you feel awkward or you don't want to get rejection, like you have to just like change your attitude and annoy people. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like you just have
we
to.
had a director on here, Peter Atencio, who's now a big Hollywood showrunner. He got to start directing Key and Peele. And the way he got to direct Key and Peele is because he would go into the writer's room and they would tell him, "We don't need you here. Please don't come here." And he ignored them. And he just
That's how he
came in.
EP'd. That's how he EP'd. He was hired as
Yeah.
the director.
You annoy
But
people
he like
until-
he didn't
yeah.
he direct like every episode or something.
It's so corny to say, but it's true. I mean, it's like the Spielberg thing of when he like broke into Universal and annoyed everybody, and they were like, "Whoa, who's this kid?"
Yeah, he
like
he pretended to have an office on the lot, right?
It's trite, but it's true. It's just
and
like it's like
Tarantino faked his like that he went to Harvard. Or something,
everybody,
right? When he wasn't working in the
everybody.
mailroom.
It's like you just have to like reach out and like I said, especially if you're in your 20s, like you have so much more of a luxury to be like, I'm a just a goofy kid. Like it's just like for anybody listening to this, if you're in your 20s, you have a get out of jail free card. You have a million of them to just annoy the crap out of everybody who you admire.
I do want to give permission to people that aren't in their 20s to also be
you can be
Yeah, no,
ambitious.
totally. I mean, I still do it too. And like I said, everybody does that to some degree. But I think especially if you're just looking for like, I'm a young kid who's just like trying to figure, like flaunt that, dude. You
Right.
truly don't. You truly can say anything in the email. You can be crazy in the email. No one's gonna like. It won't come back to you. No one cares. You're like a
No
baby.
one remembers. No one.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
even let's pretend that they do. I guess if someone said to you, "Hey, Janek, you get to choose. Either do you annoy some people and make a bunch of movies, or do you not annoy those people ever and no movies?" Right? Like, what's the choice?
Well,
If the choice is like, of course, I'll
obviously,
whatever, who cares?
yeah.
But like, that is kind of the thing that I think holds people back a little bit. I'll say this: it held me back a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
No, you and I are Can you, we've been, like I said, we've been doing this for 11 years. Matt's done multiple crowdfunding campaigns. Never one time on this podcast did he mention a crowdfunding campaign.
That's because it's regulated by the SEC. It's a little different.
No, but we've that
no one's
we've
regulating
is
bothering
different,
a
Bernard.
lawyer. You know
That's
what I'm
right,
saying?
that's right,
Like,
yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
regulation for that.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
but you, like, we've kind of been hesitant to even self-promote on our podcast that we make
Totally,
for
yeah, yeah.
ourselves, that we own, because we're worried that it might seem annoying, or
Oh, I
thirsty
have
or-
that, definitely. I don't have any shame with reaching out to people. I do have a promotion thing. Like, my personal Instagram, I don't think maybe once a year I'll post something about what I do. I don't do anything with that because I do have like I'm the opposite of, I can't do self-promotion. So like, and so that's maybe ironic, or I'm contradicting kind of but it's like, I don't even really think as a filmmaker that helps that much. Like and for a podcast for sure. But I think people have this like burden of being like, I have to self-promote, but it's like, not really. Like you're not you're not direct to consumer. Like no one's gonna really you're not gonna get a job because you have 2,000 followers instead of 1,000. Like,
no.
yeah, sure. If you have 100,
But Janek, if those 2,000 followers are Hollywood executives, then
they're not. But they're not. They're just
Yeah.
no Hollywood executive is following somebody who has only a couple thousand followers. Saying, oh, this is really good. That's just not a thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think people should apply so much pressure on themselves for self-promotion. Honestly, I worry that there's too much devotion to that and not enough to reaching out, where it's almost easy to just kind of self-promote on your social media. No, and it's not easy. It's hard. It's you have to get the pictures right.
Sure.
But I think there's way too much emphasis on that. And that's just me. I can't speak really for acting because I don't want to pretend I know what it's like to be an actor. I don't. But for filmmakers, you're not going to get anywhere. No one's going to watch your Instagram and be like, that's a filmmaker. It's just not a thing, dude.
Yeah. I think Oren and I are kind of in because we work commercially a lot, and that world is a lot smaller. We do see, and I think a lot of our listeners work in commercials as well, there is a clear correlation between...
Yeah, the numbers game that you speak of does come from the self-promotion stuff is incredibly effective.
You mean commercials and as in commercials?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
I don't know that world either. I don't know.
Yeah, that thing of new work alert, and you post a spot, and then oh, that producer who follows you on Instagram because you worked on a job together 3 years ago is like, hey, Oren, we have this thing that you could be right all the time.
Totally.
But the scale is literally 2,000 or 3,000 followers versus
maybe I should do that
100,000.
more. I can't for some reason. I mean, maybe because I have my company account where I do it there.
Sure.
And that's my fault. I don't. It's my.
I think you're right. I think features, it's a different game. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe, but I just feel honestly, this sounds I don't really sound virtuous, but I also think that sometimes it's just weird because it's I remember there's just so many people who aren't maybe that month or whatever not doing too well, and it's look at this thing I did, and they're just oh, that sucks. You're just making somebody kind of give them FOMO. It's I don't know, it's just weird. But it's like I said, that's maybe more me. I think that you're obviously any edge you can get is good, and you're obviously it's totally okay to do that. I just personally just kind of feel weird about it, but maybe I said, that's probably contradictory to my philosophy. I'm more just about emailing random people. Just random fucking people being hey, help me out. Or read my scripts, I can do that.
I was going to say, I have one last question, and it's a bit open-ended, so I hope it's not too open-ended. But if you're going to finance a feature, let's say it's a $2 million, what's the first step? Who do you call first? How do you start doing that?
Probably just reading the script and seeing how it makes sense with cast. So it's can I get actors who are worth or who have value in the foreign sales marketplace that can warrant this budget? So it's if this is a thriller that has enough cast members that I can get Ron Perlman and Harvey Keitel to come in for one day, then maybe I can make this. But if it's a family drama and it's and part of this is not fun. This is a huge problem with the film industry, that it's not good for people of female-centric movies, BIPOC movie. This is not friendly. This type of kind of independent film world is not friendly to those.
Yeah,
those
this
groups.
mentality of like, okay, like
I mean, it's not just the mentality. It's a man-made construct from a mentality from a mentality.
Right. It's because they're basing their budgets on track records, and the track records historically
they're 10 years
been
behind. They're 10 years behind. Like, I mean, Bruce Willis. I know it's a weird example.
Van Damme,
yeah, like these are people who are. It's just like a lag effect, and so and also it just becomes like a man-made construct where they're just kind of coming up with these numbers, but it is still true because they're all at buyer markets together, and so thankfully, as much as I hate like some of the streamers, like Netflix and stuff like that, they don't need that, so they're more willing to take a chance on people who are marginalized and don't really care because they don't need.
They care about expanding an audience too in a way that maybe.
Yeah, exactly, which is great. So it's like I'm a glass half full guy if you can't tell, where it's like, so I think there's like the streamers have their own way of helping artists. And the foreign pre-sales old school market is, I think, horrible for some certain people. But I think for some people who just kind of want to go out there and make an indie film, it can work. And you can make a way to make it work with different types of actors and stuff like that. It's difficult. But that's what I look at first. It's like, well, where is this going? I look at everything like working backwards. Like, where can this go? And I don't even really think about like who would I go to financing, because really you shouldn't even have to go to financing. You should be like, can this sell before it gets made, at least a third of it, and then the rest you can figure out. You can be like, okay, we'll get tax credit, that's a third, and then we'll get some like equity money. But until you have that 1/3 of saying, oh, this can kind of theoretically sell before it's made because we can maybe get cast, then that's kind of how I approach things, and that's how I write things, frankly. And I think that's, for listeners who are writers and stuff like that, which I assume there are, I would look into these things because some of the best stuff I've ever written, which have sold, I'm thinking about it first when I make the concept. I'm not writing the screenplay thinking about the stuff, but when I'm coming up with ideas, I'm thinking about these things when I come up with ideas.
Right.
And then I give myself...
Just to be more specific, you're trying to come up with concepts that will attract cast easily?
Yeah, so there's two things. This is really important. I'm glad you guys brought this up. There's two things. There's screenplays that you're trying to get buyers excited about, and then the irony is that the other thing is you're trying to get cast excited about, and those are very conflicting things. Buyers want like action,
something we've seen before,
right? Yep. And then talent, the actors want something that's just a great character. That's like, so if you can, I personally bifurcate both of them. I write some movies that are action and thriller, and then I'll write stuff I love that are just for an actor will eat up because it's a great character. So both are equally as important. And the irony is that they're conflicting. So you have a lot of these scripts that these buyers have and they can't make it because talent doesn't want. And then you have all these movies that talent wants to make, but the buyers don't want it. So just try to do both. Make something that's kind of like thrilling and exciting that a buyer would like. But ultimately, if you just write a good character, that's for talent. And you can't make a movie without talent. So if you're a writer, I really do believe this is how I look at it, is I write for the actor. I don't write for anything else. Because if you can get an actor attached, then that's how you get your movie made. Like, yeah, sure, you can maybe sell your script for $10,000 as an option to some random company and it'll never get made, which, that obviously, like, some people really need that $10,000. I'm not like, I get it. But like, if you really want it to get made, these days, I'd almost say just write it for a really good actor, get a director attached, and just produce it yourself or with the production company, and not worry too much about the option. But like, I get it. Some people really need work right now to sell even something for $5,000, because but they're just like not like the numbers are very low right now. People aren't paying much for screenplays right now.
And super dumb question, but what makes a great character?
I mean, I always like to say they have to go through the ringer. They have to just kind of like get thrown into a tornado emotionally and come out of it somehow, or not come out of it. But they like every character I think of that I've written, it's like this might have happened to them, 8 or 10 times in their life, but this is the time they really went through it. They'll never forget this time. That I told you about the next movie I'm doing is about that wealth management advisor who he has to come up with $500,000 before his client finds out he stole it from him. That character's probably been through that 30 times. He's stolen before. But there's something about this one time when you watch it that's the one that changed his life. And I think that's the way you have to come up with a good character. You have him go through the ringer. He or she goes through the shit and somehow comes out alive. But for some reason, the one story you're telling now, it might have happened before. He's gone through the ringer before, or she's gone through the ringer before. But for some reason, this time was different and they changed from it, or it was somehow more memorable than the other times. That's how I look at characters. It's like they have to go through like an absurd amount of psychological distress and change, in my opinion. Some movies don't need to have, they need to go change. Godfather's a great example. Godfather Part 2 is an example of how kind of you don't learn the lesson. But like, yeah, that's the best way I can answer it. They got to go through the ringer.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we could talk for days and days. This is incredible. Yeah. Definitely come back the next time you've got a movie, which will be, it sounds like very soon. So that's great.
Yeah. The new movie's coming out. We're in post right now. We just finished in Amsterdam. We just are getting ready to submit it to Sundance, or we submitted it to Sundance 2 hours ago. So
congratulations. What's that movie? Can you tell us anything about it?
Yeah, Miranda Ray Hart is the writer, actress, and director of the movie. She's very talented, and it's a movie that takes place in Saratoga. I won't say anything else other than that. The horse racing.
What's the genre?
Town. It's like romantic comedy, kind of a screwball comedy, almost like a George Cukor picture. You know, like
all right.
His Girl Friday or Philadelphia Story kind of thing.
Cool,
but modern. Yeah.
And how did it come to you?
I've
known
acted
Miranda in your movie.
Yeah, she acted in Mondo Hollywood Land, the movie I directed, and she just is. I've known her for ages. We grew up in the same town, so I just kind of latched onto the project because the script was really good. She's a very talented writer.
Awesome. Well, where can listeners learn more about you? Kind of keep track of what you're working on, all of that.
Yeah, just go to Assembly Line Ent Entertainment on Instagram. Assembly Line Ent. There's like everything's there. Gigi's movies obviously being promoted there. Miranda stuff that I just talked about, all my movies I've directed, all the movies we executive produce, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's where you can find everything. That's the home base.
Killer. Perfect. Well, do you have a few more minutes to hang out and endorse with us?
Yes.
Unpaid endorsements.
Okay, so my unpaid endorsement is over the weekend. I went and saw Singing in the Rain at the Academy Museum with my daughter, and it's still
oh my God.
It is so good. It is crazy how good it is, especially the first hour, I would say. It moves so quickly. It's so funny. It feels really modern. Like there are things about it that have not aged well, I should say, but for the most part, it really cooks. It feels like a very modern film and still is totally enjoyable. I think you can put it in front of any audience and they can have a great time. It was in a packed theater and it crushed. It was so fun.
Okay, can I jump in really quick? So I went to see an American in Paris and Academy Theater.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen, but like, I just doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down what you just said. There's nothing more escapism than just going into the Academy Museum where you're like you're not allowed to do shit. You just have to sit there and watch the movie. It's like elegant, huge screen, and it's just Gene Kelly. You just transport, man. It's just it's incredible. Like
we don't have anyone anywhere nearly as close as Gene Kelly. Gene Kelly was like.
No, Jimmy Fallon.
It's
just like
there's not an equivalent because there's not Song and Dance Men.
Yeah, but he not only could he dance better than anyone you've ever seen before, but also he's a great actor and he's got like this cool masculinity and charisma and softness all at once, you know.
And also everyman quality, which is bizarre.
Jonathan Groff, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Lin-Manuel.
Yeah. I mean, you know, no disrespect, but like it just like one of a kind. Just one of a kind. And I think maybe it kind of honestly like a little bit of a gateway drug for musicals because I think as a kid,
totally, man.
You think of like Fred Astaire or like this kind of like elegance to musicals, which is cool. But like Gene Kelly really is just like, he's like cool and like masculine and elegant all at once in a way that you're just like, oh, I didn't even know musicals could be like that.
It's got that scratchy audio. I love old movies. Like,
it's like, a cowboy is tap dancing right now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
This probably is not popular to say, but I do think Ryan Gosling and I mean, you know, I like La La Land.
I love La La Land.
Yeah.
Like he obviously is channeling that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the charm, but he doesn't have the dance capability. He would admit it himself. Yeah.
There are sequences in Singing in the Rain where your jaw's on the floor with this dancing and they don't cut. There's like 3 or 4 cuts.
Oh, come on.
in
You
a
know
dance
it's all
sequence.
visual effects.
Yeah.
Head
Yeah.
replacement.
Yeah. Look, I guess so maybe I'm just endorsing Gene Kelly. I think he wasn't a super nice man. You know, it's like,
Wait, there was like issues with him?
yeah, I think he was just like,
There's literally
a grouch.
issues with everyone. from
I
that
don't
era.
think I'm not super well versed, but I think he was just mean. I don't think he was ever like
You're perverted.
Yeah. I don't think he would have gotten Me Too'd, but like HR would be like, Gene, you can't make people dance for 36 hours straight. And he's like,
Right,
well,
right.
I am. It's like
Yeah,
that sort
yeah.
of stuff, you know?
Eh.
Yeah. He's a tyrant.
I'll
but,
let it slide.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Listen,
We had to slide a lot on
yeah.
his.
Yeah. So Gene Kelly, Singing in the Rain, and going to the Academy Museum. Yeah. Yannick, what you got, buddy?
All right. This is a movie or audiobook that I listen to whenever I'm stressed out about the industry. And it is Kid Stays in the Picture by Robert Evans. And
Mhm.
I highly recommend it. Robert Evans is, I'm more of a writer director, even though I think, as you guys can probably tell, people kind of see me more as a producer. So I am still a producer, of course. I used to produce more than I do now. And there's just something about it that is just like, I think Patton Oswalt has a quote on the book saying, it's like Hollywood Satan in a robe drinking a martini telling you to your ear about like the adventures of Hollywood. Like he's so raw. It's so insane. Like it's like written by him. He talks in third person. He's doing the narration. It's like a megalomaniac, narcissistic guy who's also, by the way, like very nice. Like people in the industry still look back at him. Like I think even Rose McGowan, like when he died, like said this huge piece about how he's the last gentleman left. Like he wasn't like, it's very easy to be like, oh, he was like a dirtbag, old producer, Hollywood kind of shady stuff. But apparently he was like very like a ladies' man for sure, but like very old school and like wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Like also
He made sunglasses cool.
also very funny that he just kind of skims over when he's like, and there I was, and I had a movie that they wanted to make, and next thing you know, I had a full office, and I was the head of the studio, and it's like, what did he skip over?
And then a
He was
week
like, oh, he was
later-
in the mob.
Yeah.
He was literally like, his lawyer was Al Capone's lawyer, like, so it's just kind of funny where he just kind of like pretends it's like he skips over things, and he makes clearly making things up where he's like. Or he name drops the entire book. He's like, there I was with Douglas Fairbanks Jr., July 4th, 1973. It was me, him, Mary Pickford. And it's just like, what are you on about? It's just amazing. It's very fun. I think he's one of the most important people in the film industry, or when it comes to Hollywood, at least. I wouldn't maybe say globally, I don't know, but like Hollywood, he kept Paramount alive. And he took a chance. He was an actor before he was a studio head, and he took a chance on a lot of like filmmakers. But mostly, it's just kind of like it's a way to kind of look at the industry. I'm a big believer in this because I think that people put a lot of stress on themselves with the film industry, and I'm a big believer. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is my favorite movie of all time. Not the best, but it's my favorite because it's like don't take this all too seriously. And I think the book is kind of funny, and it's like at the end of the day, just enjoy the ride of Hollywood. Don't think that like there's geniuses versus this. And like you need to, if you don't make it, you're not a genius. It's so stupid. And this book is kind of funny because it's like very meta self-important, but like it just shows the absurdity in a more natural way. It's hard to explain, but I recommend that tenfold. Like it's not the book, the audiobook.
That's an interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he
which I like,
narrates it,
actually.
and he does it in such a funny way. He's just like, there I was, it's I can't even impersonate it because it's so funny, but he narrates it and he's doing it in third person, and it's just so ridiculous. And there's a documentary, but don't watch the documentary or watch the documentary after. But you gotta listen to the full book. It's so funny and so informative and interesting. And then really quickly, if you are also going down that rabbit hole, Adventures of the Screen Trade by William Goldman is also really good too.
Yeah, 2 classics. I think the Robert Evans book, I have not listened to it, but I have read it. And there's no one, I mean, you said don't take yourself too seriously, but there's no one that took bigger risks than that guy. Like he was,
Right.
like you say, he went,
cool.
one day he's the head of Paramount or whatever, and a month later he's like mortgaging his house to try to finish a movie.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, man.
that guy went from rich to insanely in debt like every
A
month.
lot of cocaine too.
One of my favorite stories from that book is when he talks about The Graduate and how, now it's like this Oscar-winning movie for Best Picture, Best Director. arguably one of the most famous cuts in film history, in the scene where he jumps, into bed and lands in the pool. But he talks about how bad that movie was when they finished production.
Redford was almost going to be in it.
And then, how everyone thought that Dustin Hoffman was like the worst casting, and it just didn't work. And he hired like 2 camera people to go to Boston to film B-roll. And he just knew that there was an amazing movie there if it just flowed and was paced the right way. And he talks about how just adding a few B-roll shots and working on the score and just like the stuff that was done after the movie was already finished made it just so much better. And then it won Best Picture. And I think hearing those stories, we have a friend, Matt Barber, who took our friend Tim's short film that didn't get into any festivals, recut it, and then it played at Cannes and Sundance, so
Great.
I love hearing those stories of knowing that there's something amazing and turning them into like a gem just through sheer filmmaking. Anyhow.
Yeah, you need a champion that's outside of the director.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good point.
But full circle. Kaplan, what you got, buddy?
I have, since everyone's talking about cool pop culture things, I don't mean to boast too much, but I went to the movie premiere of a movie called Gabby's Dollhouse. If you don't have a 5-year-old kid, you probably have no idea what Gabby's Dollhouse is, but it's an incredibly popular Netflix show that they just turned into a movie. And it's a fun movie, especially for little kids. But one kind of interesting thing that they do in the movie, which I wonder why more movies don't do it, is, I don't know if you guys know Miss Rachel or Blue's Clues or Dora the Explorer. A lot of these kind of shows made for little kids, the main character will look into the camera.
Like direct address.
Direct address, and they'll interact with the audience. And in Gabby's Dollhouse, like in Dora the Explorer, she's like, do you know how to say this word in Spanish or something? And they say it. But in Gabby's Dollhouse, a lot of her power is derived from the audience, like singing along with her. And to watch it in a movie theater full of kids, and they, when you sing along with her, her power is stronger. So if something's not working for her, she has the audience sing with her, and then it works. And I was like, why don't we do that? These like kind of interactive, look at the camera and have the audience all do stuff. So if you are making a short that is designed to play at festivals or in theaters or to large groups of people, like that interactive thing is really cool. And it made me want to think of a way to incorporate that into something I make. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then also we're really enjoying Peacemaker, as if James Gunn has not gotten enough out of his life so far. That's a show that he happened to completely write on his own and direct most of the episodes. And it's really fun. It's on HBO. I believe it's just called HBO now.
I think it's HBO.
Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah.
HBO Max.
Yeah. Well, this was great. Thank you all. Over other listeners, if you have any questions for Janek or me or Oren, you can email us at justshootapod@gmail.com. We'll forward them along. You can hit us up on social media at justshootapod across all social media platforms, but really mostly Instagram. That's kind of the main one. And TikTok. Yeah, though I'm not checking messages on TikTok. So if you want to message us, Instagram. And, okay, great. Where was I? On TikTok. You can message me at Mr. Matt and Oren.
And I'm on Instagram at @OKaplan. This episode was edited by Kevin O. Our social media is done by Lily Bouvier. And our producer, who, by the way, also works and does a ton of editing and filmmaking for the Academy Museum.
Yeah.
That you guys both talked about, is Tyler Small. You're listening to music from the Free Music Archive and the artist Jazar. And we will catch you all next time. Thanks everyone.
Goodbye.